Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something pretty unique.
Definitely different.
We're taking hypothetical news from September 28th, 2025, and looking at it through a very specific filter.
Right. The lens of the late Dr. Ernest L. Martin, specifically his pre-1998 prophetic framework.
Exactly. And the mission isn't prediction. It's about seeing if his structure finds a coherent story in potential chaos.
A non-random narrative, yeah. We have to strictly follow his methods, no forcing it. Does a pattern emerge on its own?
Focusing on themes like deception, surveillance, and this command for urgent watchfulness.
Those themes come directly from the 7 biblical verses we're using as our grid.
Okay, but you mentioned his pre-1998 framework. Why that specific cutoff?
But that date, 98, it marks a significant shift in his own thinking on chronology. But the core ideas we're using today, they were established then.
Which were?
Things like absolute literalism, historical and astronomical precision. He famously calculated Jesus' birth down to September 11th, 3 BCE using planetary data.
Wow. Okay, so precision about the past. But how does that translate to future geopolitics? Isn't applying it to 2025 news a bit metaphorical?
That's the interesting part. Martin insisted on applying that same literalism to prophecy he saw as unfulfilled.
How?
He focused on restoring what he called the original canon, believing the Bible's original book order held a hidden prophetic structure.
Okay.
And crucially, for our purposes today, he identified prophecies about a future literal destruction of Babylon, which he clearly identified as modern Iraq.
Right, Iraq.
And he believed it would be executed specifically by Iran. That's a key point for his framework.
Got it. Okay, let's bring in our hypothetical news for September 28, 2025. There's a definite convergence happening.
You see it immediately, right? Geopolitical crisis meets an information crisis.
Yeah, the info war. The hypothetical news mentions a global World News Day campaign trying to fight disinformation.
Exactly. And Martin's framework would instantly connect that this huge, acknowledged global crisis of truth directly to Matthew 24.11.
The warning about many false prophets leading people astray.
Yes. He'd see the struggle over truth itself as a major end-time sign.
And at the same time, diplomatically, things are stuck. The UN is gridlocked with vetoes, walkouts.
Which sort of mirrors Luke 6.7, doesn't it? That legalistic surveillance, watching for grounds to accuse rather than seeking a solution.
A kind of procedural entrapment.
Right. And then there's the big trigger, geopolitically speaking.
The sanctions on Iran.
The reimposition of snapback sanctions. All previous international penalties are automatically back in force.
And for Martin.
That kind of intense, concerted international pressure on Iran, he saw that as the critical catalyst, the potential start of the specific scenario he foresaw involving Iran and Babylon, Iraq.
Okay, let's shift focus. Jerusalem. The date, September 28th, it's also the 25th anniversary of the start of the Second Intifada, plus ongoing violence.
Yes, and that connects to another theme from our verses. Witnessing suffering, like the women in Matthew 27.56 watching the crucifixion.
Amidst this backdrop, there's intense pressure on Israel's prime minister.
Specifically, pressure to accept a big U.S.-led peace plan, a 21-point deal.
And in frameworks like Morton's.
High-stakes diplomacy like that is often seen as the prelude, the setup for a prophesied but ultimately fragile, false peace.
So you have this deep regional chaos, which feels like the total opposite of the divine order described in Numbers 2.3, right? The camp of Judah toward the sunrise.
Exactly. That verse symbolizes meticulous divine order. The chaos on the ground is its antithesis.
Which then makes the promise in Luke 8.54, child, arise, feel like the ultimate needed intervention. The thematic climax.
Right. It points towards a resolution beyond human systems.
So bringing it all together, what's the spiritual takeaway here if we follow this framework?
Well, the verses suggest an antidote. In a world filled with external confusion, deception, maybe even surveillance, the real refuge becomes internal.
Internal how?
Worship in spirit and in truth, as John 4.24 puts it. Authentic personal connection, not dependent on failing external structures.
So, looking through Martin's lens, these hypothetical events aren't just random noise. They become specific signs.
Signs indicating that the climax, as Mark 13.29 says, is nigh, even at the doors. It demands watchfulness.
A call to pay attention.
Definitely. And it leads to a final thought, really, for you listening. If the world, systems, government, information, all of it seem to be descending into chaos, into this kind of legalistic conflict,
Yeah.
then what concrete steps can you take personally to realign your own life towards that other kind of order, that purposeful, meticulous, divine order symbolized by the camp of Judah?
Finding that structure within yourself, perhaps.
That's the challenge this framework ultimately presents. How do you build that camp in your own life?